What do car parts, steel, and oil have to do with your home here in Calgary? Well, Trump's tariffs just added fuel to the fire of Canada's housing crisis, and Calgary could be hit harder than you think. In this video, I'll break down how US and Canadian tariffs will ripple through our city, from construction costs, resale prices, oil jobs, to rentals and first-time homebuyers. Let's have a look. All right, so I'll start off with giving you a bit of an overview of what's happening, and I want this video to be specifically about how it could affect the Calgary real estate market, not Canada-wide, just Calgary. And things are changing every single day. There's constant news about this, about these tariffs. So today is April the 17th, and depending on when you're watching it, things could have changed. But as of right now, we've got a 25% tariff on steel and aluminum, a 25% tariff on automobiles and car parts, and a 10% tariff on oil, gas, and potash. And Canada has responded with our own retaliatory tariffs on the USA. And the Bank of Canada has warned of recession risks, and inflation could go up about 3.5% as well. So a lot of stuff is going on right now. And first up is steel and aluminum. Now, if you're buying or selling a property in Calgary, you might not think too much about steel and aluminum tariffs, but it definitely will have an impact on our real estate market. Now, I don't think Alberta is known as a huge steel or aluminum producer. I think it's more of a Quebec and Ontario thing, but it still will have a major impact on our market here in Calgary if things play out and we do have tariffs into the future. And the reason being is that steel and aluminum are involved in everything, from condo frames to appliances, parts, basically everything. There's some kind of steel or aluminum product in it. And you can even throw in car parts and oil and gas. All these industries, they're involved in absolutely everything. And if we have tariffs on that, everything becomes more expensive, and it will have an impact on our economy. And when production costs rise, those producers, they don't just eat the cost, they pass it down to the consumer, or they stop building or producing altogether. And I've already seen this firsthand in Calgary. I was showing a condo a couple weeks ago, and there's a big hole in front of the condo complex, and the plans were to build a new condo in front of the existing one. And I was talking to one of the managers in the complex, and that condo had just been canceled because there was so much uncertainty regarding the tariffs, how much the supplies would cost. So they just outright canceled it for now. So that's just one example. And this could affect the resale market as well. If there are less new builds being produced, it could actually increase the cost of resale products as more buyers are pushed into the existing supply. So it can be good or bad. If you're a seller and you're hoping to cash out in the near future, maybe this will push up the cost of your property, but it will be bad for probably first-time home buyers will have the hardest hit as everything is so expensive and there's not much supply, especially in the affordable products sector. Now we are seeing a bit more balance in the Calgary market right now, but again, if there's less homes being built, that existing supply might get snatched up by all the buyers who are coming to Calgary and looking for product. And if there's less new supply coming to Calgary, I think that will also affect the rental markets and costs might go up. I do believe the tariffs are very inflationary, and I think it will make everything just more expensive. Now, if we look at that condo complex I just mentioned, this is a great example. If we stop projects like this, it has a ripple effect. To build just one condo complex, there's so many people involved. There's hundreds of people involved in one single project. For like the structural aspect of it, engineers, there's siding, roofing, windows, flooring, appliances. Basically, if we stop building projects like this, it has a ripple effect through the entire economy. And those people they're not working, they're not making money, they're not buying properties. And this can directly affect the supply and demand aspect of real estate. If there's less buyers, there's less demand, and prices should stagnate or drop if it gets really bad. And this is just one example. Now, if you factor this into the entire country and how this can affect every single industry, it does have a ripple effect, and it won't be good for the real estate market in Calgary and countrywide, and in the USA for that matter. And the next point, let's talk about oil and gas. And this will directly negatively impact Calgary in a big way. Everyone knows Calgary is the energy capital of Canada. This city runs off oil and gas. This province runs off oil and gas. And when there are downturns in the oil and gas sector, it negatively affects the Calgary market. You will see firings, you'll see layoffs, you'll see companies relocate. And real estate, again, is just supply and demand. And if lots of people are getting laid off and fired, those people aren't buying properties. The demand falls, and real estate, again, should stagnate or drop altogether. And you will see longer days on the market. You'll see falling prices. You'll see expired listings, terminated listings, and so on. So it's definitely not going to be good for the Calgary real estate market. and Alberta-wide, because the oil prices are tied into Alberta's budget and our deficit or a surplus. And you'll see less projects that are being funded by the provincial government, maybe less workers, maybe they lay off people as well. So it won't be good for Alberta as a whole. And next up, let's talk about car tariffs and how it might impact the Calgary real estate market. Now, Calgary is not a car production part of Canada. That's usually in southern Ontario, but it should still impact the Calgary real estate market. And it's a bit indirect. And how it works, in my opinion, is if cars go up in price and people buy them, their payments are higher than what they were before. And I've known since selling real estate since 2012, one of the biggest hurdles for people getting approved for a property is having a large car payment. So if those payments go up, then your ability to buy a property goes down. And it's as simple as that. Car payments are terrible, especially for first-time home buyers when trying to buy a property. So just a bit of a tip, if you have a car and it's almost paid off and you're thinking about buying a property, make sure to pay it off first, because it will definitely make a huge impact on you getting that approval. And the second aspect is that, especially in Alberta, there's a lot of companies that will buy lots of cars, like trucks, SUVs, and stuff like that. And they'll come into car dealerships and they'll buy like 100 cars at once. And if cars go up in price, maybe they budget and they buy less, and maybe they actually lay off people to cut costs, which will have an effect on the workforce, which definitely affects the real estate market. So I think for car tariffs, it will affect us, but it's just a bit more indirect than like oil and gas tariffs. And let's talk about inflation and uncertainty. So right now, we're definitely in an inflationary environment in Canada. Even before the tariff talk began, inflation was running rampant in this country, and everything is so expensive. And if you add in the tariff talk, they're kind of afraid, they're kind of uncertain of what to do. And that uncertainty freezes people, and it freezes the public, buyers, sellers, corporations. Everyone's just kind of not sure what to do, and that has a real drag on the economy, and that could impact the real estate market. You're seeing more inventory come to the market as people are looking to cash out. We're seeing sales fall as well. I think the sales were down 20% year over year. We're looking at last month, and the inventory was up 100% in Calgary. So it's definitely impacting the supply and demand aspect of real estate. And I just think it's a real drag on everyone, as no one's really sure what's happening. And it doesn't help that we're in the middle of an election here. So we're kind of in a bit of a weird spot in Canada at the moment. And I don't think it will be good for the real estate market if things continue this way into the future. All right, next up, let's talk about who wins and who loses in this situation. And so first up, let's talk about some of the winners. And there won't be many, definitely. And if we look at the Calgary real estate market, we've been seeing more inventory come to the market each month for the past half year, I would say, maybe a bit longer than that. So our market is balancing out. But if we look at the brand new builds, if the cost becomes so expensive that they stop building or they delay, that might benefit the resale market as more buyers are pushed into the homes that are already built. And that might benefit the current homeowners. It's a bit uncertain though, because we are seeing more inventory. So it depends on how negatively the demand is affected. So this is one to watch, but it's hard to say who's going to win or lose in this situation for sure. But it stands to reason that a current homeowner might do well if the new builds become very, very expensive. Now, who loses? Definitely buyers lose in this situation, especially first-time home buyers, as they're feeling the squeeze with rising prices, inflation. I don't think wages have caught up, and it's going to just be more difficult as a buyer in this situation. And I think developers will lose out as well. I kind of look at it like during COVID, there was supply chain disruptions. I think tariffs could have a similar impact. And with tariffs, the costs of building materials are going up. So it could be a tough time if you're a developer or a renovator. I wouldn't be too optimistic about that type of industry. Now, here's my educated guess of what might happen going into the future. So I think in the short term, this won't be good for anyone. It creates uncertainty and chaos. It spooks buyers and sellers. Not good for anybody. In the medium term, I think Canada and the USA will get together after the Canadian election and we'll hash this out and everything will be fine. And smooth sailing going forward in the medium term. And in the long term, I think this might actually be good for Alberta and Canada as a whole, in that it might actually smarten us up and that we actually build infrastructure projects across the country, maybe LNG plants, pipelines, all sorts of different infrastructure projects, remove trade barriers. So this could be good for Alberta and the country as a whole going forward, but this is long-term thinking. And going forward, I think the fundamentals of Calgary and Alberta are still pretty strong. We're still seeing a lot of interprovincial migration and international migration to Calgary. And our real estate market is still fairly healthy. We are seeing more inventory come to the market, but that just means we're moving away from extreme seller's market conditions and things are just a bit more balanced right now. So there is some, there's a storm on the horizon, but I think we'll work our way through it. And I think the fundamentals of Calgary are still very strong. And if you are thinking about making a move, buying, selling, or relocating to Calgary, and you want to talk strategy or have some questions or concerns, I'd love to be a resource and help you out. Feel free to give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. And in the pinned comment, I've got some free resources for you, a buyer's guide, a seller's guide, and a relocation guide. Feel free to download those. And any questions, I'd love to answer them. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next video.